Now on CNET Central.
Services such as AOL are getting a run for their money as netizens migrate straight to the internet. A report on the future of online services.
We will control
Security issues are haunting Microsoft's Internet Explorer.
The people that are turning down the security features on these browsers are really taking the health of their computing systems into their own hands.
We watch as hackers have a field day with ActiveX.
The next generation of flight simulators is here. John C. Dvorak will let us know if they're worth the wait.
Plus, a review of the hottest new ultra-portable laptops. And the best of the web brings us some of our favorite pop culture sites.
Also an update on the still troubled AOL, and Sophie Formica answers your questions about frames right now on CNET Central.
Now, from the #1 on-air and online information source for the digital age, this is CNET Central.
Hi, I'm Richard Hart.
And I'm Gina St. John. Welcome to CNET Central.
Just a few years ago, if you wanted to go online, you had only a few options. There were small bulletin boards or commercial services such as Prodigy, CompuServe, and AOL. And for a monthly or hourly fee, you could dial in and enjoy their own proprietary content and services.
But when the World Wide Web came into the mix, everything changed. The commercial online services made it available to their subscribers, and telephone companies started offering direct access to the web, eliminating the need for an online service.
Since then, an avalanche of content has shown up directly on the web. In fact, a lot of people are bypassing traditional commercial services and venturing straight to those sites on their own, which leaves many to question whether there is still a need for online services at all. It's the battle for internet access, and the big four online services find themselves in a precarious position.
If we go back a year and a half ago, most consumers who were getting on the internet were getting on the internet through a commercial online service like America Online or CompuServe or Prodigy. Then we've seen a shift since then, more and more to these internet service providers.
Nick Donatello is president of the research firm Odyssey. A recent survey conducted by Odyssey shows that 48% of the households surfing the net are using an independent internet access provider, while only 35% are using a commercial online service. The same survey shows that more consumers are choosing quality of access over quality of content. Donatello says the online service market is ripe for reshuffling.
Ultimately, internet access is a commodity. And it's very hard to win in a commodity game if you're buying your commodity from one of your competitors.
According to Donatello, by offering consumers the same all-you-can-eat pricing as the big ISPs do, the commercial services put themselves in a no-win situation.
If you suddenly make something free, people consume more of it. I don't think you have to be an economics PhD to figure that out.
When AOL made the switch to unlimited access, its service was overwhelmed by users, leading to blackouts, lawsuits, and the loss of some proprietary content.
A lot of services, when they go through these growth surges, have busy signals. They have, poor access or no email for 5 days. It's just a problem industry-wide.
Columnist Robert Seidman tracks the online services. He says that as long as AOL and the others can figure out a way to subsidize the cost of unlimited access, the future for them is still bright.
I think the factors become, if the price is relatively the same, then it's what value-added features do you feel that the services have, and what is the quality of the service provided to you.
Seidman says that even though consumers can find similar content on the net, online services do a better job of aggregating that content. Their interfaces are nicer, and most important, they're easy to use.
Even the ISP services are starting to get easier and easier to use in terms of getting up and running, and you can just click and start doing stuff. But it's still easier with a service like America Online.
And with 8 million members and thousands of startup discs being sent to potential subscribers, AOL has cornered the market for online service and access. In fact, the Odyssey survey reveals its ISP competitors to be very fragmented, with the largest internet service provider, Netcom, capturing only 8% of the market, and AT&T WorldNet getting 7%, MCI and PSI netting a mere 4%.
The fact that AOL tripped so severely and AT&T didn't run out and spend $25 or $30 million right then to try and capture those people, says something about their seriousness of purpose.
Commercial services won't be going away anytime soon. We should expect even more reshuffling of priorities and players in coming months. Don't get too comfortable with that all-you-can-eat pricing. As we speak, ISPs and online services are considering tiered pricing. $19.95 for the basics, but you'll have to pay more for the good stuff. If you're interested in exploring your online options, see our comprehensive comparative review at CNET.com.
As you know, ActiveX and Java are two technologies that allow little programs to come to you over the internet and run on your own computer. Now that can be good news and bad news, as our reporter Hari Srinivasan is here to explain.
That's right, Gina. Recent incidents have raised questions about the security of Microsoft's Internet Explorer web browser and ActiveX technology. Although the incidents centered around different features of the browser, they can all be traced to fundamental Windows technologies created before Microsoft even moved on to the internet. One of those technologies, ActiveX, is increasingly coming under fire for its security problems.
We are controlling transmission. If we want to access the hard disk, we can. We will control the keyboard.
This is no joke. What you're watching and hearing is the beginning of a potentially destructive ActiveX control written for demonstration purposes by this man, Fred McLean.
People can write ActiveX controls on the internet that can format a floppy disk or a hard drive. It can install a virus. And I don't think people are fully aware of that when they see this one little scary dialogue come by with a yes/no button, that clicking yes could be the end of their machine, or it could mail off their tax records.
He wrote it as another example of the security flaws possible in Microsoft's ActiveX technology. His control, named Outer Limits, literally takes over your computer. And for starters, it does a clean erase or format of whatever floppy disk you have in your computer.
Now it's searching your hard drive looking for your checkbook files.
After that, it's straight on to searching for your tax information.
For the next few minutes, sit quietly, and we will control all that you see and hear.
ActiveX is similar to the technology that lets you import an image or sound file into a Word document, except that these mini applications help you synthesize information across the internet.
You're about to experience the awe and terror which reaches from the internet through the ActiveX.
A few months back, a group of hackers calling themselves the Chaos Computer Club showed off another serious flaw. They used ActiveX controls to gain access to an individual's banking information stored inside a Quicken document. Think of your computer as a playground for an application. So for example, when you download a Java applet, it has to stay inside a sandbox. ActiveX controls, however, don't have any of the same walls. So they've got access to just about everything inside the playground. Microsoft's line of defense to prevent this is called the Authenticode system, a way for users to know who the author of the control is and decide whether or not to accept it. All Internet Explorer browsers come with this security feature set on high, but the problems occur when users get tired of seeing the warnings and turn the feature to a lower level or off altogether.
I think that we've got to educate users about the risk that entails. The people that are turning down the security features on these browsers are really taking the health of their computing systems into their own hands.
But programmers like McLean say Authenticode is ineffective. It does nothing to check the type of code you may be downloading. It just tells you whether or not the code has been signed for by someone.
I go out and shoot pistols all the time. I've got a .45 caliber gun. Now, I usually put that in the safe whenever any kids come over to my house. The analogy with ActiveX would be that if I just wrote my name down on a piece of paper and tied it to that gun, that would make that gun safe.
The bottom line that both Microsoft and programmers like McLean can agree on is to think twice before downloading something that'll start itself up on your machine.
Wow, that is pretty incredible. So are there any current solutions to this problem?
Well, there is sort of a big picture solution that we've heard about so far, and that is for Microsoft to take the ActiveX controls and put them into the sandbox analogy that we were talking about earlier. But as of now, Microsoft isn't showing any indication of wanting to do that.
Okay, now should I stick with my IE browser or should I look at other browsers instead?
Well, if that's your primary browser, there's no need to abandon it altogether. There are security features like we talked about, and leaving them on high is probably the safest thing you can do for yourself.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Hari. Don't go away. Coming up, Microsoft spends $425 million. And Dvorak puts you in the cockpit of the latest flight sims on CD-ROM.
Net News is sponsored by IBM Solutions for a Small Planet.
In this week's Net News, digital TV. We told you last week about a delay for those long-awaited DTVs. Now the news is digital television could hit store shelves as soon as next Christmas. That's also when the first digital programming is expected to hit the airwaves, now that the Federal Communications Commission has begun issuing digital broadcast licenses. At least 24 stations in the nation's biggest cities have promised to air digital programs within 18 months. The first TVs will sell for about $2,000. Microsoft hopes to take advantage of high-definition TV with its recent $500 million acquisition of Web TV. Microsoft's looking to lure more non-PC owners to the net. It purchased set-top box maker Web TV in its most costly buyout yet of an internet startup company.
We expect Web TV to allow a great user experience to be provided for both internet-based consumer electronics like they have today, and also the marriage of that with our Windows CE and Internet Explorer technology.
Web TV uses a regular phone line, and subscribers access the net through Web TV's own online service. The system sells for around $300. In other business news, the increasingly powerful Walt Disney Company is going after a share of the increasingly competitive online news market. Disney's ABC News division is planning to launch abcnews.com. The interactive site will go head-to-head with MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News Online. America Online members will get a customized version of the site. And some AOL members can look forward to a 4-month refund, according to a new deal just signed by the company. The provider had previously agreed to give recently shut-out subscribers a 2-month refund. But in a new class action settlement, AOL agreed to double that refund period, covering the months of December through March. Still, dozens of lawsuits remain against AOL, but this new deal could solve those cases. To get more on these stories and stay up on all the daily developments of the digital world, you'll want to make sure to visit CNetCentral239. Gina?
Thanks, Richard. Now, we are here today with the man that is known as the multimedia baron.
Right, as in flight baron.
Yeah, it's John C. Dvorak. He's going to tell you whether or not you should buy, try, or skip the latest flight sims. Our first one today is called Hind. It is a follow-up of that helicopter sim, Apache, which was hugely popular.
Right, if you like Apache, you might like Hind. Get ready to take off for a fun-filled helicopter adventure. You're in control of Apache's arch nemesis, an old-school Russian combat chopper. There's a variety of campaigns from attack missions to recon. The Hind will take you all over the world, placing you in fantastic scenarios and taking you to distant lands. And the game offers realistic flight dynamics with superb graphics. You can fly solo against the computer or go head-to-head with other choppers over a network connection. My only real complaint with this disc, the controls are difficult. But if you're patient, it's worth the effort. I give this a try it. It's not a great game. It's a good game. It's not a great game. It's a good game. You need a joystick thing to fly it, and you better have some experience, not for amateurs.
Okay, my next one is F-22 Lightning II. Is it a great game? Is it a good game? Is it something else? Tell me how that flies.
It's not a great game. It's not a good game. Period. F-22 Lightning II coins itself as the new standard in flight simulation games. But if this is where the new standard is headed, you don't want any part of it. The game's graphics and the photorealistic terrain are nice looking. Unfortunately, you'll find this disc plays more like an arcade game and less like a flight sim. And a lot of the flight controls do not follow any kind of real flight dynamics, even the most basic ones, like steering the plane. If you're at all familiar with flying a real plane, or even other flight simulation games for that matter, this disastrous disc will definitely leave you frustrated. This is a skip. For a disc that advertises itself as a flight simulator, it's just a shoot 'em up.
Okay, well, these folks have not been playing around with this Microsoft's Flight Simulator for Windows 95. Now, this one is the update to the most popular sim ever.
Right, and they keep bringing it out year after year, and year after year it keeps getting better. Head for the skies in Microsoft's Flight Simulator. There's no blasting or shooting on this disc. It's a straight-up sim. Along with 2 brand new planes, the Boeing 737 and the Extra 300S, you'll also find the usual flight sim staples that make up your fleet. Go ahead and fly from Munich to Lake Michigan, or from San Francisco to Seattle. Hey, is that Microsoft headquarters? Now, if you're a novice, you might want to spend some time at flight school and learn how to actually fly. There are all kinds of views from the cockpit cams to exterior shots. And have you ever tried landing in a thunderstorm? Well, here's your chance. This is an annual buy it, and this Windows 95 version is the new classic. 2 new airplanes, 50 new airports, flies like a real plane. Fantastic CD-ROM.
So is that your favorite of all the Sims today?
Absolutely.
Well, if you'd like more great Sims, the place to go is CNetsGameCenter.com. You can get tips, tricks, and free software downloads of your favorite games.
Stay with us because just ahead, a review of the small laptops they call Ultra Portables. Desmond's picked out a few of the best ones for us, and Xena, Warrior Princess, conquers the web.
You're watching CNET Central on CNET, the digital domain.
Well, it's time now for a bit of viewer email. Every week we try to answer some of your most frequently asked questions, or what's known as facts. And here to help us out is our own Sophie Formica.
Thank you, Gina. Well, we know that the internet has many terms that may be unfamiliar to you, but don't worry because that's what this week's fact file question is all about. Dennis C. Stevens writes, what are frames and what do they have to do with my browser? Well, Dennis, frames are a feature that's used on websites to divide a page into separate areas, pretty much the same way a real frame holds a photo. For example, MCI's website uses frames in order to allow certain sections of the page to remain static, like this index on the left margin. Now you'll see when we click on MCI paging, only the information on the right changes. The index and the photo on the left stay the same, and so do the toolbars at the top and bottom of the page. Now when we click on MCI Cellular again, only the text and the photo on the right change. On a web page without frames, such as this one by Sprint, you'll notice that the whole page changes when we click on one of these graphics, like Internet. When frames are supported by a browser, that means the browser can read the code that tells it how to present the frames to you. But you don't see the frames if your browser can't read those instructions. Now, if you're confused by any of the terms or technologies in the computer world, of course we'd like to help. So send your questions to the fact file at cnet.com or through regular mail to the fact file, 150 Chestnut Street, San Francisco, California, 94111. And if you want to know more about frames, head on over to cnet.com. You'll also find those fact file addresses and each week's question and answer.
Thank you, Sophie. CNET Labs lately has been spending a lot of time and effort testing what they call ultra portables, and Desmond Crisis is here, first of all, I guess, to explain what qualifies as an ultra portable.
Right. An ultra portable is a machine that you might consider replacing your regular desktop machine with, one that has enough power to do everything you'd normally do on your desktop.
Now, this is the OmniBook, which goes way back, and they didn't originally have Pentiums, but now this small unit has, what, 133 megahertz?
Yeah, these were some of the first really, really small machines, but they looked a little bit more like organizers. One of the most unique things about these are the pointing device in the OmniBook. That's kind of how you can tell.
Pop-out mouse.
Yeah, it doesn't work so good on the lap. Works great on the desk. I kind of liked it.
Now, the screen still is small, about 10 inches. Let's look at something that has some screen that might replace my desktop monitor.
Right, something more seriously as a contender for your desktop is the Compaq Armada, and this is a pretty mighty machine. One of the interesting things they've done with this is they have a lot of different modular parts for it. For instance, the batteries. Now, here's a battery that replaces your floppy disk drive. Here's a battery that doubles as a handle to carry the thing by. I mean, it's got batteries coming out of every place you can think of.
Now, if those devices tested, this had the longest battery life. Right?
You better believe it with all those batteries on it. It's great on the plane if you got to get some work done and you don't like to get interrupted in the middle of it, but it weighs in at about 7 pounds.
Now, here's a new version of a classic, the IBM ThinkPad. What's special about this?
This is actually it's the newest ThinkPad. It's the smallest ThinkPad, the 560. Now, there's been a couple of these before, some of them bigger than others, but this one has a lot of features that you're looking for in this kind of a
fast Pentium
laptop. Yeah, it's a Pentium 133. This one's also got an MPEG video compression built into the motherboard. So if you're doing some video stuff, this is the way to go.
For multimedia, and also the 12.1-inch screen. All right, costs.
Well, the cost. This one's around $5,000, but you can make that up in frequent flyer miles, I'm sure of it. This one is right around $4,500, and it's good balance for what you get. You know, it's going to cost a little more because it's a portable.
IBM ThinkPad,
and then the OmniBook, which will get the job done for $3,200.
And you can almost fit it in your pocket. Well, I guess it boils down to you can have low price, performance, or
portability. Pick two.
Pick two. Okay. Desmond Crisis, thanks once again. And of course, you can find more information at cnet.com.
Hey, if you want to be the first to get the CNET Inside Word every week, you gotta get Digital Dispatch. It's our free email newsletter, the ultimate behind-the-scenes guide to the ultimate on-air, online source in the digital age.
All you have to do is send email to dispatch@cnet.com. In the body of the letter, type subscribe and your email address.
The Best of the Web is brought to you by MCI One. Life just got simpler.
Xena, Hercules, and lava lamps. That's right. It's time for a dose of pop culture, internet style, in this week's Best of the Web. He's half man and half god, and none other than Hercules. Created by MCA Universal, visit Hercules, the Legendary Journeys website. Played by Kevin Sorbo, get the scoop on this super hunk by clicking on his biography or visiting a 3D photo gallery. Of course, you'll also need those funky 3D glasses. And don't forget to go behind the scenes where you'll find past episode info, air times, along with the latest news from the show. And MCA Universal's other hit TV show, Xena, Warrior Princess, is also on the web. Starring cyberbabe Lucy Lawless. Check out all kinds of tidbits about your favorite action star. Now, you'll also find the standard broadcast schedule and production notes, but diehard fans won't want to miss the Xena Scrolls, where they'll learn the true history and origins of Xena. And finally, we get groovy at Newberry Comics Interactive. Considered by some as the hippest music store on the East Coast, you can enjoy a shopping extravaganza by clicking on everything from CDs to good old-fashioned vinyl. And this site sells more than just mere music. There's hats, lava lamps, beaded curtains, fridge magnets, magic 8-balls, Barbie watches, chili pepper party lights, and more. Set up an account, then grab these pop culture items online. For more Best of the Web, visit CNET.com. This week's feature also includes a hangout for young teens and a 50s pop culture website.
Wait a minute, that's pop culture. Where is the streaming video of the Pet Rock? That's what I want to know.
Wait a minute, you see these?
Ladies and gentlemen, Gina's Pet Rocks. Thank you very much.
That's it for CNET Central this week. If you would like more info about anything you've seen on today's show, log on and go to www.cnet.com.
We have in-depth articles on some of the stories you've seen on today's show, and if you haven't already, you'll want to bookmark our site.
It has all the information you need to keep up to date and informed in this digital age.
This week we have in-depth reviews of 8 ultra-portable notebook computers, including the ones Desmond showed off earlier.
Well, that's all we have for this edition of CNET Central. Thanks for tuning in and logging on.
Thanks for joining us this week on CNET, the digital domain.